I've really tried to learn that it's not near our last game. And I used to get really emotional, but I get more emotional at the football banquet when I know it's their last one. But we've got A&M not even a week after that, and then obviously we have a bowl game. And we hope that we will win enough to get another opportunity to play. So to me, I will not be as emotional on Saturday night. My focus will be Kansas. Now our bowl game's our last game. That's senior day for me. I don't feel like it's just the last time our fans will see them play here. And they've been so special to us, and all these players have, that I really hope our fans will come out and let them understand how much they've enjoyed this run.
So Coach, can you talk about just what, I know you've had a lot of special senior classes, but what's special about this group?
They've just been a group that have been in the mix at the end every year. And then one year Colt gets hurt and we don't finish right. And then the next year we lose to A&M. And then last year they're one play away. So they've been a group that has made us proud, and they've fought and they've competed and they've put us in the right positions. They haven't finished it. So their whole focus, since they haven't won a championship, is to make sure that they finish this one right, because it's really hard to be the group of seniors that follows the 2005 group. I mean, they were young guys and they've watched it, and obviously modern history changed at Texas in 2005 with a national championship game because of standard changes. So they've been under much more scrutiny and much more pressure to win every game than probably any team since maybe 2005, but before that for a long time. And I think they've handled it all really well. I think they're in a good place and they know exactly who they are. They're tough. They move forward. You can be hard on them. But I like the fact that they're a group that wants to give back. I like the fact that they talk about our soldiers. I like the fact that they talk about breast cancer and the awareness of it. I like the fact that they were so taken back by Lieutenant Colonel Gadsden that it does mean something to them. And when Brett Robin came in, they're so respectful, and they all get up and walk over and thank him for playing at Texas and what he did. And I do think we're getting tremendous support from our ex-players in the NFL that come back, like Michael Huff was on the sideline last week, Jonathan Scott when we were here for the Central Florida game, who was pretty good, I guess. They played pretty good, but it's been a fun group to be around.
Coach, you mentioned toughness. Talk about the resiliency a little bit, from Jordan Shipley to Lamar Houston to Sergio Kendall, even whether it was injuries or some problems off the field. These guys are your leaders, and is that part of the toughness that you talk about with the way they're able to overcome some issues?
It is. Our job, Sally and I have 4 children. If a child messes up, our job is to try to punish them, make them understand they shouldn't have done it, and then try to help them learn from it so it won't happen again and they can have a better life. The first text I got after we were aware that DJ had been out too late was from Lamar Houston saying, "Can I help? I've been there, Coach. I know how hard this is. I know that people are going to say he's guilty whether he is or not. I know that people are going to over-scrutinize him. I know that they're going to say things that are nasty without information. Can I help him?" And I said, "Go for it. That's what seniors are supposed to do." So instead of me having to ask Lamar to go help, he was the first one there. And this whole class has been that way. They're very caring. They want to help, and they understand that we're all human. We all make mistakes, but let's go back from it. You look at Jordan Shipley, nobody has overcome more than Jordan Shipley to get what he's gotten today. So anything that he gets, he paid for. He was patient. He waited his turn. You start looking at Colt McCoy, who can take over after Vince Young and handle it. And I mean, the first thing he says, "I'm not Vince Young. I can't be Vince Young. Nobody's going to ever be Vince Young." And here he is. He's already won 42 games. So in his quiet, polite, great role model matter, he's taken over and been one of the best quarterbacks not only in Texas school history but forever. And I mean, from McElroy to Sergio, it's just a story of kids that have they've persevered and done a great job here.
Coach, along those lines, because of that toughness, how did you deal with the team in terms of the DJ situation? Did you handle it in a different way than you would have a different type of team?
It's been so long, Chad, since we've had a different type team. These last few teams have been this way. We walk in, we hit it right in the face. He's in the meeting. I tell him exactly the information I have. I tell him what he tells me. I tell him that I told you not to go out, don't go out. And if you go out, you're going to be accountable for it, and you're going to be held accountable, and for every action there's a punishment that you have to have. And then we're moving forward, and it won't be mentioned again. And what they did is they said, "What about Baylor, Coach? Let's get the film." What about Kansas? Let's move on. That's just who they are. So they'll protect him. He'll handle his personal problems with his family, and we'll move on.
Mack, can you talk at all about 2006, because you're kind of in the same boat here with Kansas State and A&M ahead to win the Big 12 South. You mention that at all, go back to it at all?
What we did last week for the first time is I showed them how 2005 finished in the last 2 or 3 games of the season. Been 3 last week, 2 now. I showed them how 2006 finished. I showed them how 2007 finished, and I showed them how 2008 finished. And 6 and 7 didn't finish as good as 5 and 8. So we basically said, so you can choose. You've been a great team. You've had a good run. So if you want to be flat and stand around here and get beat at the end, that's up to you. I can't do anything about it. If you sincerely want to be 40 years old and look back at what you accomplished, you got 2 weeks to put yourself in a different place than a lot of teams have in this football program. And when you bring your children, your grandchildren back through, if you want to be proud of 10 wins, that's fine. And if you want to try to get to 14, that's on you. I'm fine either way. And that's kind of the way we put it to them. And I thought the indication Saturday afternoon was they'd like to get to 10 at least. And I didn't realize when the Marcus Tubbs and the guys that have played here, Tony Jeffrey, that are on our staff now, come up and say, Coach, I never won 10 straight. You know, that's impressive. I never did that. And these kids don't realize, they're so spoiled that they've won, 22 out of 23 or something. They just think it just happens. And we tell them to look around. So we also have a Who Ate the Cheese session in our meeting now. And we went through about 8 of them. And we usually show some film. And now we did put a big platter of cheese out on Thursday night at our team meal and had a sign there, please do not eat the poison cheese. So we're trying to make them aware again that there are some out there that aren't as fortunate as we are.
Mack, taking on a team from the North, does it impress yourself the fact that in the regular season you've beaten 5 of those teams all the time? 5 of the 6 teams, no one lost?
But, you know, I hadn't even thought about it. Really, Mike, I didn't realize we had. I think the 2 they're talking about, we haven't. So that would be what I would be more impressed with. I know Kansas State and Nebraska have a big game this weekend like we do with Kansas to try to get some things settled. And I know you have to be impressed with what Bill's done and Bo's done. They've both done tremendous jobs. So I think we're seeing the North kind of separate itself, it looks like, here in the end. So that's why we need to take care of our business.
But very impressive that you've done so well in the regular season against North teams year after year.
Well, we feel like we've done pretty well against everybody. You know, we had that stint against Oklahoma where we didn't do well, and now we're better in that game. But I think it's important that we've always said you need to beat the teams in your state, and you need to win, quote, that minimal goal of state championship before you can start talking about conference and before you can start talking about national. And then it is different coaching here, I think, Mike, because our fans and our kids were not raised with the Big 8 in mind. So even when we've played Rice and Houston and TCU, there's been more excitement around the fans than when we go north. So the difficulty for us as a staff has been that we make sure that the kids understand who those programs are, because there's not history with Texas and them. And that's been the most unique thing to me. And I think it starts with fans and media, but it definitely affects our kids. So we've had to go back and just look at the history of all those programs. We had Dorothy out one time for practice for Kansas, and we've had the yellow brick road in the dressing room. I mean, we've had it all now. We just tried anything to pull it out and let them have a little fun, but understand that these are important. But none of these kids grew up on Kansas State, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa State football. We played Colorado some. We played Oklahoma State some, and they recruit so much in Texas, and we've played Oklahoma a lot. But you start looking at some of the other programs, there's just not much history. So that's been our goal, is to make sure that they respect teams that they don't know as much about.
Mack, is there any discussion? It's so emotional, that moment when the kids run down with you and the family. Then they've got to go play what is the biggest football game of the season. And your quarterback's the guy that can't play on emotion. He's got to be the even keel guy.
Yes, we did a horrible job early, because I was crying before they were when they were walking out of the dressing room. It's kind of like what Ed was talking about. And what we've tried to say now is this is senior night for the fans, not for you. you've got at least 2 more games after this, and hopefully a third if you'll do your job. But don't sit there. If you're going to cry, cry after the game. You know, I've